You're listening to the Sleuth podcast, all about the business of dentistry, hosted by yours truly, Greg Essenmacher, a fixed full arch dental expert and founder of G&A Consult, speaking with industry leaders on the dental landscape from their perspective. At G&A, we specialize in transforming full arch dental practices, teaching, coaching, and training teams to deliver an exceptional patient experience, from that first call to delivering final smiles. Whether you're a practice owner, a DSO executive, or a regional leader looking to expand your full arch program, boost same-store sales, or unlock the true profitability of full arch cases, we've got you covered. Ready to see how full arch can elevate your practice? Visit the show page or book a discovery call today. Let's turn your potential into results. Welcome back, everyone. Greg Essenmacher here. If you don't know who I am, I encourage you to like, share, subscribe, do all the things. The buttons are below, whether you're listening, whether you're watching, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I don't know. What are the other ones, Laura? What are the other ones? I don't even know.
I don't know. I'm stuck on this idea of who doesn't know who you are.
Oh, well, there it is. Shots fired right out of the barrel. Thank you so much. My guest today is Dr. Laura Brenner. I just have to honor the doctor part, right? Because you did go to school, you did earn the degree, and then after being miserable in clinical dentistry, you shucked the white coat and said, no mas. So if you don't know Dr. Laura Brenner, and if you aren't a part of her Facebook group called Dentist Side Gigs, then you're really missing out, because it's a very lively group and she's a pretty amazing person. So she is my guest today, and also she is a repeat guest. That's right. I invited her back, and I think you may be one of the few repeat guests. This is episode 120, and you are making a return appearance. So it's Laura Brenner 2.0.
Well, you sure do know how to make a girl feel special.
Just don't tell my husband that. No, I'm kidding. You can, absolutely. I'm really excited to have you on today for a couple of different reasons. So one, definitely want to talk about Dentist Side Gigs, because I think some people might hear that title and think, oh, well, it's only for dentists who want to get out of out of the clinical, right? That's one. But also, I mean, that group and the conversations that happen are so far reaching. Right. So for someone like me that wanted to get out of corporate life, from the corporate manufacturing side, not that there was anything wrong with that. Right. It was a great path, taught me a ton of stuff, but wanted my entrepreneurial chops, and tried that out. And it really was a side gig for a while in the making in my mind. And then even for a while now, until I could go full bore at it. And I think there's so many lessons to be learned there. So talk to me a little bit about your group. Talk to me a little bit about your messaging. Sure.
Oh, why, thank you. Well, so many people who get into their one career track end up feeling stuck. Like you realized that you needed to change, and you did. So I think across the board through different careers, we experience this. And then you bring in dentistry, and the people in dentistry, especially dentists, because they've invested so much time and so much money to get into this, that when they feel trapped or stuck or unhappy or burnt out, whatever it is in their practice, they really feel like they have no options. And that was my experience I've been out of clinical dentistry longer than I was ever in, Greg.
Wow. Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
There you go.
Yeah.
You don't ask a lady his age, or her age. I'm sorry.
Hey, what are you implying?
I was talking about me.
Oh.
Well, I won't ask you. I'll tell my age, but you have to ask. So anyway, yeah, I've been out longer than I was in. And when I was realizing that I was unhappy in dentistry and it wasn't for me, I felt so isolated. And this was actually I actually left in 2011, but I wanted to leave in 2004. So I spent 7 of my 10 years in practice in the closet, How's that analogy? I was looking in the
You'll know I know all about that, right? Because I tried playing my straight card and got married and had a kid. Thank goodness, because grandbaby's coming here in a few weeks. So grateful for that. And been with my husband now for 12 plus, and we'll be married for 10 here in a few months.
Yeah, and I think no matter what first of all, congratulations on all of the good stuff that's happened, right? Um, and congratulations on the bad stuff. You and I can talk about that later. That's a whole different topic, right? That gets
That offline.
when we go through pain, it gets us to where we are now, right? Let's just say that. That's a different topic though. But this idea of being in the closet, it's like you're hiding who you really are. And that's painful. And when you do that, you remain very isolated, and that creates a lot of shame. You can use that closet analogy for any secret really that you're hiding, right? And so I was hiding that about my career. And the minute I started talking about it, which was through my blog, it connected so many people. And by the way, this isolation and shame, this is a Brene Brown concept, that isolation breeds shame and empathy kills shame. Suddenly there were people who were reading my blog and saying, oh my gosh, I feel the same way about dentistry. How did you leave? What did you do? I want to leave also. So it created this community that not only supported me in this really painful coming out, but also I realized that there were other people just like me who needed that support also. So ultimately, when the world shut down during the COVID year in 2020, I saw a bunch of people were starting Facebook groups, and I thought, I'm going to do the same. And that's how it came to be.
Well, and you're talking about like what I'm hearing is people having the opportunity to identify with others who are in a familiar situation, because for so many who are in their career or in their position in their life that they're in, they have this limited scope. And I was in that place, right? Well, I've always done this. And they're identified by, if you ask people in a room, right, and you go up in a conversation in a social setting, oh, so what is it that you do? And it's a common question. And people will identify not, oh, what do? I spend time with my son and my family. They inevitably, it's, oh, they'll mention their career. They'll mention business. They'll mention what they do for a living and put food on the table most of the time. And that's their identification. That's how they'll identify success, is by what they do for a living. And so with that limited, narrow scope, that's what ends up isolating more and more, because that's what they know. So what you provide is that ability to really live into their authentic self. And the more they can identify that, and for clients of ours at GNA Consult, for our elite clients, I do one-to-one mindset coaching. And often what I ask them is, what brings you passion? Because Laura, you know as well as anyone else in the dental industry, with the M&A activity that's happening, for so many in the full arch lane that we work in, it's build more, make it bigger, sell. And my question often to clients of ours is, what then? What next? Because if they are of that mindset, what comes after that? Do it all over again? I mean, the thought of going and sitting on a beach and relaxing and drinking pina coladas and Mai Tais, you're pretty much going to be miserable more than likely if you're that type A personality that just builds and grows things, right? Because you're probably going to be sitting on the sand and be thinking, that guy that's selling the acai bowls, I bet I could do it more efficiently. And I bet I could get 20 different people to work for me. And I bet I could turn a profit on that and then end up selling that, because that's the way the mind works. At least that's the way mine does. I don't know. Maybe it's just the recovering alcoholic in me of 20 years. So let me ask you this. For those that you work with, and those that you've helped over the years, now that you've been out of clinical longer than in it, what are some of the barriers that you see that individuals need to overcome in the coaching that you do and the guidance that you give them?
Oh, well, let's start with the first one that I think is tied to your mindset coaching that you do with your clients, is people are looking for the answers outside of themselves. They are not they're looking for, oh, what are other people doing that maybe I could do? how do other people feel about doing dentistry? Um, instead of saying, how do I feel about this kind of work? It's
Right.
it's like,
Fix
well,
me.
let me keep searching and Googling and figuring out what other people like, but we're not listening to ourselves. And I think this is a result of, I call this concept old rules that we've been living by, is that we are taught this set of rules. It's from society, from our parents, from school, from our communities. We're taught that life has to be a certain way, and we follow these rules blindly. And if you really stop and look at what are these beliefs that I have about life and my life that are getting in my way, you'll actually realize that you don't even believe these rules that you're following. It's crazy. So I'm number one, start inside. And what do you think? And start listening. We are so good. We don't listen to ourselves. And I know that you relate to this because I know who you are. And we are as dentists, so many of us are caretakers. Let's put any hygienist, anybody in dentistry. We're caretakers. We're always looking at how can we make this experience the best for the other person that we're serving. And I always say that we're so good at seeing our clients or other people's side of a story that we miss what we think and what we see. We're so good at that empathy, sympathy thing, but we don't even look at ourselves. So that's where it has to start, is looking internally.
Yeah, I can so relate to that. I remember this goes back to when I first got sober. Somebody would ask me, "So what do you like to do?" And I couldn't tell them early on because the answer was for a very long time, well, I like to drink. As long as I could get drink, as long as I could get alcohol, that's what I like to do, right? Well, do you like to go to the movies? Well, if I could sneak liquor in, yeah. Do you like to hike? No, that's exhausting. Like, I like to sit around and drink, like whatever had to do with that. And so, I mean, I'm being a little extreme, but that was my experience. So when you talk about that, like, what do you like? What are you passionate about? What is it that you really want and like to do? Start there, start internal. And so as you're starting to help clients of yours or individuals, doctors, those that are looking to explore that, what is it that you're finding that they're uncovering and discovering or discarding for those old beliefs or what they've adopted from somewhere, right? Usually from some type of authority figure when they were much younger, or that they've adopted along the way, that they've seen others and just seen that modeled behavior and thought, that's what success looks like, or that's what I need to do, right? Dr. Dar Rad, he's so beautifully puts it that he never got certain things growing up and had adopted that behavior for a long time. And he's on his own path of self-discovery and what I call enlightenment. I don't know that he uses that term, but it's so beautiful to watch him go through his process. And I like to say that it's more about breaking the chain of what happened in the past and then being able to be that piece for the future of not carrying on generationally, which is tough work. And so do you find that with clients that it's tough work for them and how you're guiding them?
Yeah, I think that there's this, we call it woo woo, right? There's this thing. I mean, let's talk about when I started. I mean, at the core of what I do, it is life coaching, right? But when I started my business, I was like, oh, dentists aren't going to respect life coaches. I need to call myself a career coach. And part of that is because there are some stereotypes out there that we have about life coaches, and sometimes they're true and they're funny and it's great. And so I always consider myself a bridge between these skeptical scientific types that there isn't this other realm. I'm going to use that word. I don't even know if it's the right word, but this thing that like everything has to be proven, everything's scientific, everything's evidence-based. I feel like I'm a bridge between that and the woo-woo. Because as you're mentioning DAR, it's like the woo-woo and this self-exploration and trying to build your intuition and connecting with your heart and all these things that kind of sound cheesy to us dentist types. I've seen the most skeptical of people in our industry go down that path. You would never expect it, and they're just opening their worlds to beautiful possibilities just by saying, okay, maybe there's something bigger than me, and maybe I can dive into this. And it's kind of weird and scary. I don't even know if I'm making any sense, Greg, because this is such a new, I think it's a newer area for us in dentistry. And so I just like to say I'm a bridge because I've been there. I know what it's like to be like, oh, that kind of thinking that there's a higher power or spirituality. And I don't mean religion, right? I'm talking about this all-encompassing spirituality that could include religion for some people, but doesn't have to. It's like this connecting to this higher power and letting go of some of the control can really be eye-opening, because we as dental professionals, is like we want to control everything. We want to force it. We want to make it work. We want to have our definition of success is bigger and better and more. And our egos just get in the way. And it's kind of like, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?
Right. Yeah. Well, and in dentistry, right, it's about occlusion and it's about margins and it's about, all of those things, right? And it's very, and it's artistic, but it's certainly not woo. It's not in the realm of, the social sciences, right? It's in the hard sciences, if you will. And just as you were speaking there, it reminds me, see, now we're going to go to Socrates. Socrates, for those of you who really know it, right? And he talks about, right, the unexamined life is not worth living. And so, I mean, that just speaks to me, and it has for a long time. And a long time ago, I had no idea what that meant until I started looking internal and really looking at my life. And maybe it's because I've gotten to the age of 54 and I'm going to be a grandpa here in a couple of weeks. And it's like, oh, now I get what he's talking about. But, you touched on a piece which is talking about higher power and spirituality and the realm of things. I mean, for those that are listening that are, that bell curve, right? Of on one side you have purely science minded, and on the other side you have oh, the God is everything, right? And most fall somewhere in the bell curve, right? Well, for those that are purely science minded that are listening, I got a little nugget for you, right? Because energy remains constant. It cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred from one form or another, right? And if you really want to get down into it, right, because that's the law of conservation of energy, right? It's an indisputable law. Well, when you really start to break it down, if you really want to talk about spirituality, kind of the same thing, right? Because you can't destroy, you can't create, right? And so there's really this more of commonality between the spiritual and the science and the physical. For many that have done the exploration of and continue to expand. And that I always like to say that coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. And I love the fact that when I was doing some research on that I was sharing this and doing a testimonial at one point, and I'm like, man, I'm a pretty smart guy. I came up with a really good one there. And then, of course, you Google it and it's oh, that's attributed to Albert Einstein. Now, there's a lot of things attributed to Albert Einstein, right? That I'm guessing it's kind of yeah, Abraham Lincoln said, that, a man is as happy as he chooses to be. Really? But did somebody capture that? They probably captured it while he was surfing the internet. Come on, guys, really? So I like to chuckle sometimes at myself at some of the things that I come up with or get inspired by, and I'm sure that you probably do too. So knowing what you do and people that you work with and what you've shared so far, we hear the term burnout often. And it's almost like I'm burned out from hearing the term burnout, because it seems like I mean, I don't know about you, but a burnout to me, and I told you what my age is, were the guys that were smoking pot behind the school and skipping class, right? So I almost want to retire the word burnout and I want to like come up with something new. I just think people that are exhausted because they're doing something they're not passionate about. And I would think that because you know a lot of what I speak on, whether it's in small groups or groups of dentists for DSOs from the main stage or at study clubs, that case acceptance is so huge, right? Because that's a big thing, right? You can call it, conversions, whatever you want to call it, right? But it's sales. It is driven all by patient experience, right? Because patient experience of like, how do patients feel? Because the what, unless it's an emergency situation, they're in pain, like there's a lot of options when patients come into practice. That's all supported by team development, right? And that comes from the leader. And if a leader, the dentist, is miserable and they're not happy with what they're doing and they're dealing with, I'm going to say it, burnout, right? Then it trickles down into the team and affects the patient experience, which then the practice is going to suffer. Would you agree with that?
Have you hacked into my notes on my computer, Greg?
I am not out yet, Rick. Can I?
I feel like everything you're saying, because the whole part about when you come up with a concept or a quote that you think is amazing. Last year, or about a year and a half ago, I wrote an article that I think it was like, I don't know about you, but I'm burned out on burnout.
Oh, I did not. Maybe
that-
I read it. Maybe it like stuck in the back of my head, and like finally, like the 3 brain cells slid out of the way, so it could come forward today.
I got that first. I did it first. No. No, but yeah, I mean, how burnt out are you on burnout? I mean, I think we're all so sick of it. And then, I'm actually preparing a presentation that is called Leadership Starts with You. And one of my main points is that this leadership comes from the top. And you just said it, these dentists who are showing up, and it's like, how are you showing up? And then your talk about energy is one of the things I do with people is this assessment. It's called energy leadership. And we all are composed literally of energy. We are atoms that are interacting with each other and that are energy, right? And so when we look at energy, what do we mean by that? And it's most people can relate to this idea that you have physical energy, meaning I feel energetic enough to run a marathon, or I feel so low energy I can't get off the couch, right? And so when we have this higher energy, we're able to be more engaged in life and excited about it. And you could even use the word positive. Um, you get more of the results you want. So when these dentist leaders are showing up with this higher energy, then they're able to create the culture of their team that they're going to attract those kinds of leaders to be on their team, because everybody in the team is a leader. And you know this, if you've had a toxic, is that okay to say that if someone had a toxic employee, even though they're maybe not the leader, the top of the chain, they still lead and will affect the entire group. In fact, that's actually called entrainment. So they're showing up with this lower energy that you might call negative energy. Entrainment means that whoever's energy is the strongest, whether it's more positive or more negative, they're going to get everybody on the team to switch to that energy. So, if you're burnt out or if you're cynical or if you're miserable, it's going to trickle down.
Yeah, 1,000%. And the saying is like attracts like, right? And that there's a reason why there is that saying. And the other saying, right? Because I'm just going to throw out cliches all show here. So the other one is one bad apple spoils the bunch, and it's the same, right? It's that bad energy, the negative energy. If we don't want to use bad and good as words, right? It's that it'll sully the entire office, and it seeps through like I don't want to use the word cancer, but I will. It's the word that came to mind, because if it comes up, it comes up, right? Because it just infiltrates the entire body politic of the entire culture of a practice, of a location. Well, Ms. Laura Brenner, Dr. Laura Brenner, you know what's coming up at this part of the program. Everyone plays What the Sleuth is Going On. It's 3 rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind, but you've already been here before. So we're playing 2.0, which is brand new. You haven't done it before. First time here on the Two Sleuth podcast. So look, we're breaking the cherry here again. This is the second time you've done this. You ready?
I'm ready.
Question number 1.
Okay.
What's the freshest breath you've ever encountered?
All right. I remember my answer to the last one.
I do too.
Yeah. And it's really funny because I was going to say something earlier that I'm just going to reference back to. So if you're listening or watching, you'll have to go back to that episode to get that first answer.
Yeah. It is such a good one. It made the top 3 for the answer in the 100th episode. Yes, I referenced it. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, so I'm just going to reference it by saying, as we were talking about woo-woo and energy and stuff, I came up with a slogan for us, and it can be, don't poo-poo the woo-woo. And that's a hint to my question the first time. All right, the freshest breath. I mean, let's be real. Is there really a thing? Is that really a thing?
You can answer however you want. I'm not going to box you in. I'm not going to put you in a closet.
I'm going to say puppy breath.
Oh, I know. I'm going to say little baby's breath. But since I've got a grandkid coming, like there's nothing like the smell of a little baby in their breath. It's so adorable. Okay, now we're getting woo-woo. Now you got me down the woo-woo path. See?
I love this whole conversation is weird and I love it.
I know, it's so us. It's so us, and it's so needed on a day like today, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Name one person you know that has a killer smile.
Ew. These are hard.
It's 2.0.
This is really hard. Am I supposed to? I think I have like fewer brain cells now than when I talked to you a year ago. These questions should get easier. Who has a killer smile? I'm trying to think. Is there someone in? I don't know, dude. Honestly, I'm not even up for this one.
She's gonna pass. She needs to phone a friend.
I need my lifeline.
She's gonna use her lifeline.
That Greg Essemacher. That's the killer smile.
Oh, look! Now you're just sucking up to the host. Swear, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll accept that one. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 3. What's the best dental product invention and why?
Oh, okay. So I think the software that reads x-rays to show interproximal caries is awesome. I wish I had that when I was in practice, because there are so many times where you're like, am I seeing a shadow? Is it not a shadow? And so to have that ability to tell your patients with a little more confidence, I think that's pretty cool. That would have saved me a lot of anguish.
Nice. Okay. I like it. Well, Dr. Laura Brenner, it has been truly a pleasure. So in the last few minutes, anything that we haven't talked about, which it's been tremendous, that you'd like to share with my listening audience today?
I just want to come back to the take home, I think, from our discussion today should be don't poo-poo the woo-woo.
I mean, literally, that is the title of the program. I wrote it down because that will be the title. Don't poo-poo the woo-woo. That is going to be the title of the episode. It's too good not to use. I mean, it's it.
I love it. I love it because
I love it. Yeah, go.
We want to be so straight and narrow and scientific, and open your mind. Allow yourself to explore who you are, to get into your creative thinking. It'll bring so much more color and fun and joy into your life. Start listening to yourself, because when we stop listening to ourselves, and half the people probably don't even know they're doing this because you're on autopilot. And it's just once you start listening to yourself, you can then make the decisions that help you live your most beautiful life.
I mean, I'm just thinking of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz when she goes from black and white to color. That's what it's like when you actually do some self-exploration and open yourself up to it. I am so overjoyed that we had this conversation. 2.0, Dr. Laura Brenner, you are a joy, and we'll make sure that people know how to get a hold of you in the show notes, but say it out loud in case people are driving and aren't looking at the show notes.
Oh, yes. Well, if you're on Facebook, join my group. It's called Dentist Side Gigs. You don't have to be a dentist, but you do have to be in dentistry. You can find me on Instagram at drlolabees, or my website is lolabeescareercoaching.com. But if that's too long to remember, just do a Google search for 10 reasons your dentist hates you too, and you'll find my blog that will lead you to my website.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You are such a good friend to me and to those in the industry, Dr. Laura Brenner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg.
If you need help with converting lead calls into consultations, closing consults into more full arch cases, or creating a more strategic marketing message and branding for your practice or group, follow me for more tips or reach out to G&A Consult for a discovery call today.